Hello, welcome to Dragon Army. My name is Dustin, and this is my new BookTube channel, and I am legitimately new here. And so I've never done a tag in my life. I think that they've somewhat faded out of existence in mainstream culture, like with all other social sites that I am a part of. However, I think here in the BookTube community, tags are still going strong. I'll hop on this one. If there's good results, I may do future tags, but this is totally up to you. If no one watches this video, if no one comments on this video, then this is my one shot at tags and then I'm done. I thought that first, before getting to the questions, I would introduce myself just a little bit since I am brand new here. As I said, my name is Dustin, and I am from Texas originally, but now live in the frigid north. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with my beautiful wife of 8 years. She is an actress, and we have no kids yet, but we do have a bunny rabbit named Ozma. I've mentioned her in other videos already. I've got to introduce you to her. In fact, look, here's a picture. The power of video editing. So, to the questions here for the newbie book tag challenge, whatever it is. I've got the questions here, and I've given them a little bit of thought. Each of the questions are somewhat generalized, and so I feel like a lot of us who have probably recorded a video like this and posted it, similar answers. But if people like to watch them, then great. I tried to keep mine a little bit unique in the way that I was responding, maybe specific in the way that I was responding, not trying to be as honest as possible. So some of them are just bland and boring, but other than that, wanted to kind of just share a little bit of who I am by answering these questions. Let's do it. Question number 1 is, why did you start this channel? Well, like everyone else here, I love books. Surprise! But it is actually more than that. There's a few things. One, I didn't see many guys in the BookTube community. Of course, there are some. In fact, my perception might be incredibly wrong, and there might be a lot. But I'd seen it overwhelmed with women, and so I thought it would be good for another guy to step in. But I create other content. The content that I particularly create and have created for 5.5 years now has been related to retro gaming podcast. And so I've got all of the equipment. I've got the visual equipment, not the highest quality. I've got the audio recording equipment, again, not the highest quality, but enough to suffice. So I've already had this stuff around. And then on top of that, I speak publicly for a living. I am a public speaker to some degree, at least. And so I thought, why not combine all of those things together and mix them together and bake and release whatever comes out. What am I even saying? So I thought that I would share that with other people that like books and like those kinds of things. Did I say that I was a public speaker? Second question, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? All right, so this is one where I want to be honest with you. I am not entirely sure that I'm going to bring anything too terribly new to the BookTube community. BookTube and YouTube have been around for a long time, a lot longer. I'm hopping on this at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I'm late to the game here. And so everything that has needed to be done has kind of already been done. And I know that there's going to be some innovators out there that are super creative and they're going to do their own thing, but there are thousands of booktubers and there's nothing new under the sun. And so I just wanted to bring the best of me to the best of you. And I know from experience that the best way to create a community is to just be yourself, and people who like you being yourself and like some of the same things that you like and that you talk about will eventually come around, and you'll be able to build a community around that. And that's the coolest kind of community that there is. Number 3, what are you most excited for about this new channel? 2 things I think in particular. Number 1 is meeting cool people in the BookTube community, both people that produce content and then people that watch content. I have always enjoyed the few times in life where I've had like-minded people that I've been able to read books with and get suggestions from. I don't really have that anymore. The people that I do read books with live in different parts of the world than me. And then number 2, one of the most exciting things and that kind of like is attached to that first one is I love to discover new books and new series. I know that there are some out there that are going to be my absolute favorites that I have not yet found. I am somewhat well read, but there's some key series that I haven't done yet. And I'll reveal some of those over the coming weeks. I know that some of you are going to think, "Oh, he's not even a reader." But I am. I just may have not read some of the books that you think that I need to have read. So that's one of the things that I'm most excited about. It's the community, and it's the new books that I'm going to be able to discover. Number 4, why do you love reading? I love to discover new worlds that are just out of reach, things that you can't actually get to or experience or do in the real world. That's why, in particular, the genres that I enjoy, that I'll talk about shortly, are the genres that I enjoy, because it is a form of escapism. I've always loved video games, and the things that I love most about video games, if there's various elements of video games, graphics, music, story, gameplay, and characters, the things that I typically love most are story and characters, and those two things are most evident in books. I mean, you strip away graphics and you strip away music and you strip away some of these other things. In a book, you get the very rawest form of what I enjoy most about these about books. It's and media in general. It's these new worlds, these new characters that just take you to a whole new world. A whole new world. What am I? Jasmine? Question number 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? So I think there's 2 different books throughout my reading experience. One was super early, elementary school. No, it wasn't the zoo books for AR points. Does anyone even know what those are? In elementary school, there was a book that I don't know many people, if they've even read it. I don't even know if it's a good book. I haven't revisited it, but it's called Time for Andrew, and it's a ghost story, and that is one that has always stuck in my mind as a really, really good book. And it's a book that I read when I was young, before I actually got into reading proper, but it was kind of the first book that captured my attention and was like, okay, reading is a cool thing. The stories are a cool thing. But then later in middle school is when it all just went to a whole nother level, because I don't know how, to this day, the book came across my path. But there was one book in particular that completely radicalized my love for reading. And the book is called Ender's Game. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card made me want to be a reader. I absolutely loved the characters. I loved the story. I loved the twists. I loved the sci-fi fantasy blend. Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game made me want to be a reader. But there is one more book that I want to talk about, and it's called The Final Empire, or it's called Mistborn. It is the start of the series, the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, and that book made me want to be a writer. My wife actually just brought me this. This is actually my copy of Time from Andrew from my elementary school. Let me see if so on the inside, it's stamped here, Thornton Elementary. That was Thornton Elementary Library. That was my elementary school. And then in the back, it says that I checked out the book April 9th, 1998. And you might be asking, why do I still have this book? Because I never turned it back in. It was that good. I wanted to keep it for the rest of my life, and here it is. Kind of 2 major milestones in my life. Well, 3, I guess. Time for Andrew early on, Ender's Game in middle school, and then Mistborn in more recent years, within the last decade. It really just took me in even deeper. And I'd say those are the 3 most influential, impactful books. And that's not even the question. What was the question again? Moving right along, question number 6 is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Simply, I would say, hey, number 1, would you guide me? Just teach me your ways, show me what works. I'd love to know what works, what doesn't work, how to build a community here, because that's what I'm all about, how to connect with others. And then 2, I guess this is a super basic question and super obvious when it comes to BookTube, but this is a good question, just came to mind. What is a relatively unknown book that you really, really like? That's a great one. I know all of the greats, right? I've read a lot of the greats, and a lot of us would have some similar tastes in some of the greats and some of the good series and books. But what about ones that are somewhat under the radar that you have a special fascination in? Those are the kind of books that I would like to read for the very first time. 7. What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be hardest to overcome? Easy. Starting strong. I don't want to put out weak content, period, but I want my initial content to actually be viewed by more than just me and my wife and maybe my mom. And I know there's a lot of people out there like me trying to do the same thing. And in the YouTube world at large, it's just hard to be seen and be picked up. So I am going to try to remain true to myself, create content that I would enjoy watching. Some is already out there. I'm going to do reviews of books that have already had reviews, and I'm going to do some different kind of content that other people are doing, and they're going to be able to edit better than me, and they're going to be like have better lighting and mics and all of that. But hopefully, if I start strong, I'll be able to build a community of people that want to be here and talk really good books. Number 8, when did you start reading? Well, when I stole A Time for Andrew from elementary school was one of the times. But my dad had a kind of a rule for me and my brother as kids that he would buy me a book at a time. And if I read that book, then he would buy me the next book. I didn't have to buy it out of my own pocket. He would buy me whatever book, within reason, of course, that I wanted to read. And he would, and as long as I read it from start to finish, he would always give me the next book. So that inspired me and encouraged me to continue reading. So again, even at an early age, elementary school is when I first started dabbling. Middle school was when it kind of just picked up and it was a whole new thing. And really since, man, I created a Goodreads account 5-6 years ago. And since then, I've been reading consistently dozens of books every year. Number 9, where do you read? Everywhere. Literally, maybe not literally, figuratively everywhere. I am big on audiobooks. I enjoy paper books. I enjoy paperback. I enjoy ebooks, but I listen to a lot of my books as well, which means I read in the shower, and I read while brushing my teeth in the morning, and I read on the commute to work, and I read in between, like I read at the gym. I'm reading all the time because instead of listening to music, sometimes I'll listen to podcasts, but more often than not, I'm listening to a new book. I also do physical copies and ebooks, and that's typically in bed. It's nothing glamorous. I'm reading either in bed or in my favorite chair downstairs, currently by the Christmas tree. And then number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? All right, the 2 genres that are my favorites, this is going to be a surprise, fantasy and sci-fi. What? There's no one like me out there. Fantasy and sci-fi? Tell me more. I really do like the immersive worlds that are created in a lot of fantasy literature. I love the tech and the space and the warfare and battle that's typically in a lot of sci-fi novels. But my favorite is when those two are blended together, maybe put into kind of a young adult or even middle grade. I'm starting to prefer middle grade over young adult because a lot of young adult nowadays is going towards the I don't know, just I don't even know how to put it into words, but it's something that I'm not typically enjoying. There are a few series out there, we'll get to them eventually, that started really cool with assassins and then started getting into romantic vampires, and I was like, nah, I'm out of this. I can also really go for a good mystery novel as well. Love a good murder mystery every once in a while. So that's my first, possibly last tag of all time, the newbie BookTube tag. I hope that there are some of you out there that have watched this, that have enjoyed it for whatever reason, and are going to stick around. You know how to do this because you probably have YouTubes of your own, BookTubes of your own. But you can join the Dragon Army by clicking subscribe. Something about a bell notification, thumbs up, comment down below. Please introduce yourself. I'd love to comment back to every single person. And please, be nice. This is my literal introduction to the BookTube community, and I want it to be a good one. So here's my best foot forward. See you in the next video.